Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then on Wednesdays I post the question and answers that I couldn't get to on Sunday. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company, so international, anywhere in the world. And I have been getting some really good feedback. People are finding that they like the therapist, that they're helpful, all of that sort of good sort of stuff. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Anywhere in the world, just get online, fill out a few questions, and they'll set you up with a therapist here in the United States. If you're here in the United States, they'll set you up with somebody in your state that is licensed, master's level or PhD level. And again, if you don't like them, you can always go in, say, hey, I don't like them, fill out a few questions, and they'll set you up with somebody else. And like I said, I've been getting some really good feedback. So thank you, thank you, thank you. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. All right, let us dive into some questions. All right. What can you do about financial abuse and the abuser is spending your money? Okay. So financial abuse is something that abusers love to do because they want to keep you broke, basically. So if they're spending your money, you don't allow them access to your money. You have your own bank account where you put in your own money. Now they'll come unglued, guarantee. They will be like, oh no, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. So here's the thing. You want your own money. You do. You want your own money. You want your own agency. You want, everything. So yeah, they do financial abuse. What you can do is you can figure out legally what you can do to separate out. Now, something that is going to key them into the fact that you're ready to go is obviously doing a legal separation. And honestly, I think legal separations are a waste of time. It's like doing a divorce twice, really, is what it's doing. So, but if somebody is bankrupting you left, right, and center, a legal separation is a good way to stop their ability to continue to rack up debt. So that is kind of what that really is for. But I would speak to an attorney and find out what your best options are, because that really is more of a, good Lord, what are all these cords doing? That is more of a legal question than it is a psychological one, but they do financial abuse in order to keep you broke so that you don't have the money to get an attorney to get rid of them. So yeah, talk to an attorney. If you're here in the Phoenix area, Fresh Start Women's Resource Center has got very low cost consultations with retired attorneys. So they charge like $15 or $20, which is nothing when it comes to attorneys. Attorneys are usually like $400 an hour. Oh my God. So, but if you can get to the Fresh Start Women's Resource Center, that is a great place to go ask questions, and it's not that expensive. So other than that, what you want to do is contact your state bar and see if there are any free legal clinics or, clinics for people that are leaving abuse or things like that. There is always something to help people that cannot afford a full, attorney because they're so expensive. So anyway, so there is that. Okay. My ex was in the movie industry. A friend of ours knew I was a talented artist and got me on a movie, my in to the industry. Then my ex-husband planned a surprise vacation during the production. Was that sabotage? Is the Pope Catholic? Yeah. If you finally have got an in somewhere and your spouse then decides that was the perfect time to plan a vacation when you told them. So now let's make it clear that you told them. It's like, look, this is happening. This is when I need to be free. This is what, and then they plan a vacation. I would say, go have fun by yourself. I'm going to be on the movie set. Bye. Yeah, that's total sabotage. You betcha. I thought imposter syndrome was narcissists being afraid they were going to get exposed for being the fakes that they are. No. Imposter syndrome is when healthy targets of abuse are terrified that they're the fakes. Narcissists never are terrified of being fakes. They don't think they're fake. Let's be very clear. They lie. They believe what they lie. They are pathological. Most of them are dark triads. So narcissist, psychopath, control freak. Boop, dark triad. They believe what they lie about. I have seen them look people in the eye and tell bald-faced lies, and they fully expect the other person to believe them. They're not afraid of being found out. They're not fearful. Hell no. Are they imposters? Yes. Do they suffer from imposter syndrome? No. They do not, because they do not have that fear of being found out. They'll just make up another lie to cover that one. The lies multiply. So no, they're not terrified of being a fraud. They're not terrified of being fake. They're not terrified of being found out. They're not terrified, period, because they don't feel. Let's be clear about that. So the dark triads do not feel, and they don't suffer from conscience. They don't. They don't lie there awake at night and go, oh my God, how have I harmed people? What can I do differently? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't do that. Narcissists do not do that. They don't sit there and suffer from a conscience. The rest of us do, thank God. So, they don't, no. So the thing that annoys me is that there's a whole group of people out there that are apologists for narcissism, for abuse. Oh, they're just wounded little birds. No, they're not. Wounded T-Rexes maybe, but not wounded little birds. Thanks for playing. So yeah, that's not what imposter syndrome is. Imposter syndrome is what has been given to us by an abuser, telling us that we're not real, we're not competent, we're not, not good enough, blah, 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 blah. And then we start feeling like fakes when we're not. But who's the fake? They are. So there you go. I hope that answered that question. If you have any other questions on that, just shoot me an IM over on Facebook. All right. Question. Hi, Chris. I'm still studying, nearly finished with my courses. I should have finished it about 2 years ago, but I was assaulted by a perpetrator, so I needed time out. I get stuck writing due to old ways. Okay, get with a trauma therapist. Serious as a heart attack. Physician, heal thyself. I'm not kidding you. Every good therapist either has or has had their own therapist. And we have people we can call on when we need therapy because of the nature of our work. So if we have any sort of trauma in our history, it is going to get re-triggered, every time we deal with a trauma. So, for example, it's like, okay, so let's take an assault. Okay, so you're going to deal with people that have been assaulted. It's going to trigger you. It is. Absolutely. And you got to have a way to deal with that. And you cannot make your trauma their trauma. So in other words, you're going to have to compartmentalize and be able to go, okay, yep, I'm feeling triggered. Yep, but this is I need to help them. And I'm going to put my stuff over here. And when the session is done, I'm going to deal with this. But right now, I'm dealing with them. Does that make sense? So yeah, so get with a good trauma therapist. EMDR, schema therapy, EFT, CBT, DBT, any of them. Just get with a good trauma therapist and start working on that so that when you do have a client that has a similar issue, you're not going to be so in your head that you're unable to help them. And the hard truth is that as a therapist, you're going to have to compartmentalize your own personal tragedies so that you can help the person that's in front of you. And then you deal with the tragedies over here. You don't just shove them under the rug and go, oh, nope, not going to deal with that. No, you go, okay, here's something that reminds me of this, and I'm going to have to deal with it later. So let me give you a great example. My mom died, and she decided to have her body donated to UC Davis as a cadaver. So as luck would have it, the weekend after she died, one of my clients was a med student and came in and was so excited about finally having gotten to work on a cadaver. And they told me the whole process. And I had to sit there and listen in horror how they did, the peeling of the skin and the whole thing, because all I could think of was my mom. And I had to be like, okay, Chris, suck it up, buttercup. You got this client. You need to help them. Put your shit aside. Do the right thing. So I did. I was able to put it aside and be like, okay, yep, this sucks. And I'm really proud of you. Look at you. What did you learn from this experience? How did this help you? And so we were able to talk about it and process it and I didn't get stuck in my head or my heart or any place else. I was able to help her process everything she was learning. She was so excited. And so I was excited for her because that really is cool. A med student finally being able to see the anatomy and do everything. So I had to set aside my own personal tragedy and help her. And then as soon as she left, I went into the bathroom. I splashed water on my face. I broke down into tears. I processed it, gave myself 5-10 minutes, and then I was right back with the next client. And that's what you have to do as a therapist. We are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? We are triage kind of thing, and you can't let your own stuff get in the way. I then processed that later with a therapist. So, you know what I'm saying? So you got to work on you got to work on your triggers, you got to be able to compartmentalize, and then not just shove it under the rug, but then come back to it and work on it separately from the client, because you don't want to be doing countertransference. So countertransference is where we project onto the client. You don't want that. Clients all the time project onto us, and we have to kind of separate that out for them. But you don't want countertransference. So you're going to have to get with a good therapist, a good trauma therapist, get that nailed down. It is going to come up, and it will come up. I mean, to this day, if somebody came in and started talking about cadaver work, I would have that little, but then I'd be like, okay, it's cool, and let's work through this, or whatever the issue is. So basically my client was just excited about having had that medical experience, and that was really validating for her because she never thought she would get there. So anyway, there's that. So I hope that answered the question. Let's see here. Let me get to another question. Okay. Why do we, as survivors of abuse, try to keep the abusers alive in our subconscious mind? What purpose does it serve? Well, you figure if we were the caregiver, if we have a great deal of people pleasing, there was the either overtly said or covertly said message of it's your job to fix them. It's your job to keep them alive. It's your job to fill in the blank. And that's what it's really important to get with a good trauma therapist. Work on that codependency. Work on that mistaken thought, mistaken belief. No, it's not our job. It's not our job. They were the parents. They should have had it figured out, not us. So, yeah. And instead we become parentified, and we are responsible for healing them, helping them, whatever. And it's not our job. It's not our job. And that is something to remind yourself when you find yourself hanging on to the abuser, is to be like, you know what? It's not my job. And my part in this play is over. I've done what I need to do. Goodbye, and you let them go. So there that is. Okay. Let's see here. Is it normal to think maybe they were right about us? For example, if we had differing opinions than them, now we wonder if they were right. Okay. So abusers cannot stand differing opinions. Ever. Ever. I mean, if you tell them that the sky is blue, they'll come unglued because they're going to tell you it's, a certain shade of blue, or whatever. They cannot allow their target of abuse to have a differing opinion. Ever. And no, they're not right. So they have their opinion. You have your opinion. They're okay to have their opinion, but they don't get to shove it into your head. So yeah, they do that. They try to make us think we're wrong. They try to make us second guess. That's where the imposter syndrome comes from, is instead of just allowing us to have our own opinion, you're wrong, you can't think that way, you have to think the way I think, blah, 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 blah. That's what they do. So, yeah, so there is that. Let's see if there are any other questions that I missed. Hang on. No, that appears to be it for those. Okay, so let me grab some of the questions that came in. Oh my goodness, I've got stuff everywhere. Bigger desk is definitely helpful. Okay, so let's get all this stuff out of the way. There we go. All right, so here are some of the questions that came in. All right, how do I deal with a toxic parent? Okay, kind of a big topic. So if you're dealing with a toxic parent and you know that they are toxic and you don't want to be around them, the question I always ask is, if you were not related to them, would you have anything to do with them? And the answer is usually no. So if the answer is no, act accordingly. I know that that's really hard for people to accept. You cannot change them. You cannot. It is not your job to fix them. So if they are not somebody you would be hanging around, then act accordingly, And that is the question to ask yourself about anybody who is toxic or abusive or anything else. It's like, if you were not related to them, if you didn't have to see them, would you want to see them? And if the answer is no, act accordingly. So with a toxic parent, it can be a landmine, because oftentimes people find it hard to say no to abusive parents, toxic parents, because they're very insistent and they're very toxic and they're very flying monkey-ish in the whole thing. When you decide to go no contact with them, they are going to call in the cavalry, which means aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. But why? But why? But why? Why aren't you talking to your mom and dad? Why aren't you da-da-da-da-da? And you don't owe them an explanation. You don't. You've got to get out of the habit of explaining yourself. If these people are toxic and you want nothing to do with them, you draw a strong boundary. I am not in contact with Carol and Ted because I don't want to be. Thank you. End of discussion. This is not up for discussion. You draw a boundary. And the flying monkeys are not going to like it. And yes, they're going to run right back to Carol and Ted and tell them everything that you've said. And, if they're truly toxic and you want nothing to do with them, then go no contact. Stay. No contact. Do not entertain emails, texts, phone calls. Make it clear. If you're going to have conversations with them, it's going to be on your terms. So, and they're not going to like it because they're control freaks. So if you are still under a toxic parent's roof, that makes it a little more difficult because, if you're a minor, obviously, you have to wait till you're 18 before you can get out of there. Or you have to go to the court and prove to the court that you are able to work for yourself, support yourself, et cetera, and apply for emancipation, which is so annoying. But anyway, so there is that. So if you're dealing with a parent and you're a minor, totally different. You're going to have to play the game until you can get out, but keep working on yourself. It is difficult, but not impossible to heal yourself while you're still in the environment that's damaging you. And if you are working on yourself, you hide whatever books you're working on. So if you're working on self-esteem, you put it somewhere where they can't find it. Because if they find it, they're going to go, well, why are you doing this? What's this about? And da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're going to make sure that you can't do it. They'll lose it. They'll get rid of it. They'll throw it away. They'll, whatever. So if you're out of the house, you can go no contact. It's okay. You are under no obligation to put up with a toxic parent. And I don't care how old they are, and I don't care what the flying monkeys are saying. You don't owe them jack diddly squat. So there that is. Okay. I've been away from my abuser for a year, and I keep second guessing and wondering if I'm the problem. Okay, so that is part of imposter syndrome. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down every rotten thing they ever said or did to you. And write it down and remind yourself, because abusers are so good at twisting everything, flipping the script, and putting it back on the target of abuse and saying, you. You did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. You guns is what I call them. So you write down everything they did. And, no, you're not the problem. If they were abusive, if they were harmful, hurtful, et cetera, you're not the problem. So write everything down. Get with a good trauma therapist. Again, get with a good trauma therapist. Work through this stuff. Why are you second guessing yourself? Where's the second guessing come from? Is it from the abuser? Oh, well, if it's from the abuser, you probably shouldn't be listening to it. Because remember, they're the ones that install that inner critic. So you want to get rid of that. Okay. All right. My abuser constantly tells everyone... Oh, good Lord, I can't read my own writing. Oh, okay. That I am the problem. How do I stop the smear campaign? All right, so here's the deal. Abusers do a smear campaign because they need to get their side of the story out first. And they've been smearing you probably for months, if not years, before you're aware of the smear campaign. So what an abuser does is they set it up so that you're crazy, you're wrong, you're bad, you're the problem, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 because they need to establish that they're the good guy. So that when you leave, they can go, oh, he's crazy. Oh, she's crazy. Oh, just like my ex. Oh, Really? If everyone's just like your ex, the common denominator is, you know what I'm saying? So you can't stop a smear campaign. They're going to do what they're going to do, guys. You cannot control them. The best thing to do with an abuser is leave. Go no contact. Gray rock. Like a boss. Don't give them any emotional, narcissistic supply. None. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. And that's what they're looking for. So part of the smear campaign is that to get you upset, to make you respond, to keep you fighting, to keep you explaining yourself. And you don't need to do that. If a flying monkey comes up to you and says, well, your ex said blah, 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 you look them dead in the eye and go, I don't give a fuck what my ex said. Shouldn't have sworn. I don't give a damn what my ex said. And if you continue to relay messages from the ex to me, you also will be no contact. And then you stick to it. So you don't need to continue to explain yourself or even put up with this message relaying. That is something that exes do a lot, is they will tell the flying monkeys, well, you tell them I said blah, 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 blah. And then the flying monkey runs back to the target of abuse and says whatever the person said. And you've just got to put an end to it. It's like, I don't care. They can say whatever they want. Doesn't make it any truer than it did the day before. So don't relay it. And if you do, I will consider you part of the problem. And you will be no contact. Period. Period. Okay? You don't have to put up with that stuff. You don't have to put up with flying monkeys. Are they going to do what they're going to do? Yeah. But you also don't have to play the game. So no contact, gray rock. Let them know. I'm not listening to any... zip it. I am not listening to anything. Not interested. Have a nice day. Go bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Nope. La 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 la. Not listening. La 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 la. Don't care. La la la. Find somebody else. La la la. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, that's what you want to do. Okay. I started setting boundaries and I've lost a lot of people I thought were friends. I feel very lonely. What should I do? Okay, so here's the deal. When we get healthy and we start setting boundaries, this is normal because we've put up with a lot of toxicity. We've put up with a lot of stuff that we should not have had to put up with. Does that make sense? And toxic people don't like boundaries. When you start drawing boundaries for a toxic person, they're like, well, how dare you? How dare you say no to me? As soon as somebody doesn't respect a boundary, that should be your clue to book out. Be done. So you're going to do a list of deal breakers. What are the deal breakers? The deal breakers are somebody that does not respect your boundaries. That's a huge deal breaker right there. Somebody doesn't respect the word no. Oh, man. I'm like, you are at arm's length, if not further. Thanks for playing. You've shown me who you are. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Do you see where I'm going with that? So not respecting the word no. Not respecting your boundaries, not, understanding you've come out of an abusive relationship and you're done dealing with toxic people. All of those people need to go bye-bye. Is it lonely? Yes. So think of it this way. When we come out of a toxic relationship and we start clearing out our friend closet, essentially, so we start clearing out our friend closet, we start realizing, there's not a lot of people left. It's pretty empty in there now, and it's true because when we come from a family of origin that is dysfunctional, we have a tendency to surround ourselves with dysfunctional people that are on the same level because that's what we know. That's what we're used to. As we start working on the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie, PM Melody stuff on codependency, CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. You know, as we start working on all of this stuff and we become healthier and we recognize toxic behavior when we see it, we're not going to put up with it, and nor should you. So yeah, you're going to let those people go. Yeah, it's going to start getting thinned out there, but you're making room to go hang out with healthier people. You know, have your list of deal breakers. What will you not put up with? Don't put up with it. What do you want in a healthy friendship? Respect. You want somebody who respects the word no. You want somebody who respects boundaries. You want somebody who's fun. You want somebody who is safe. You know, somebody who is, you know, their word is their honor and their honor is their word. You know, that kind of thing. So you start looking for the qualities that you want. You start noticing the qualities you don't want. You don't allow the toxic people in. You do allow the healthy people in, and you will build it back up. Do the things you love. Do the things you love. Everybody's always like, well, but how do I meet somebody that I'm going to like? Well, you go do the things you love. What did you used to do as a kid that you have not been allowed to do? Go do that. Painting? Great. Go take a class in painting. Flying kites? That's kind of solitary, but it's still fun. You know, going to the beach, riding, horseback riding, archery, darts, you know, hiking, you know, what did you like to do when you were a kid? Go do that and you will meet like-minded people. Now, are there going to be some disordered people? Probably, but now that you're getting your list together of deal breakers, you know, what you will and what you will not put up with, you're going to be able to wade through that and find the ones that are healthy and then not put up with the ones that are toxic. And it's kind of sad in a way because it's like, okay, you've had these group of friends for a long time, but now you're realizing they don't really fit you anymore because they're gossiping and they're all negative and they're drinking or they're drugging or whatever. And you're just like, that's not me. That's not me anymore. I've grown past that. Allow yourself to grow. Allow them to go away by attrition. Absolutely. And some of them will try to cling, you know, like, why aren't you calling me? And why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? I'm not interested in partying every weekend. Sorry. You know, seriously, I've had clients that, you know, have told me that they've had to tell people, I'm not partying anymore. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm 30. I've got things I want to do. I don't want to be drunk every weekend. Thank you. You know, so yeah. So you just let them go and you start looking for things that you enjoy, and then you start talking to the people that show up to those things. And that's how you make friends. Yep. So there's that. I think I got time for one more. Okay. Tell me more about nature versus nurture. I still don't understand how narcs were created. Okay. So nature, nurture. Nature is what people are born with. Narcissists do not have empathy. Psychopaths, antisocial, do not have empathy. They firmly believe that the laws are not for them. They're meant for the smaller people, the other people, not for me. I can do what I want. You know, I do what I want. You know, that whole thing. So they are born without that sense of empathy. Most people are born with empathy. You can look at somebody suffering and feel for them. You can look at a dog or a cat and want to help them or want to make their lives better or, you know, whatever. Narcissists and antisocial psychopaths do not. They don't, unless it has to do with them and it makes them look good. That's the only time they would ever do anything for another living creature. So are they born with empathy? No, they're generally not, you know. And then you throw nature in on top of that. If you have a family that is also narcissistic, also psychopathic, abusive, beating, harmful, hurtful, emotionally abusive, etc., that's a recipe for a serial killer. It really is. So, you know, nature sets us up. Nurture pushes them over the edge. So, or pulls them back from the edge, you know. So, yeah. So nature, nurture, it's. I think they're born without empathy. And if they've got a family that is also narcissistic and antisocial, it's going to push them right over the edge. So there is that. Okay, kids, that is all the time I have for today. Next week, I'm going to be talking about why do they have kids? Why? Why do they bother having children? Why are they having kids? Why? What is the deal with that? So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about adoption, especially with a narcissist adopting kids and things like that. I want to talk about why they have kids and how devastating it is for the kid when they realize that they were a pawn in a bigger game that the narcissistic parent had going. All right. So we're going to talk about why they have kids next time. So, all right. So that's that. I hope that answered all the questions. If you have any places that you would like for me or Suzanne or both to go to, I already have Tennessee down, and I have St. Louis, which I'm excited about because they have amazing houses there. And in Tennessee, looking forward to that. And barbecue. Oh, I'm going to eat my way across the state. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to get together that. I'm going to start figuring out when and where and how and what and all that sort of good stuff. So I will put dates up on the chrisgodinas.com website as soon as I talk to Susanna, which will be this Saturday. She and I are going to talk. We'll figure things out. We'll get it going. There's that. All right, my loves, you guys be good. Have a great week. I will be talking about why they have kids on Sunday. All right, my loves, talk to you soon. Bye.